Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's June 25th, 2020, and today's video is about the two fig trees that we grow here, Chicago hardy fig trees and brown turkey fig trees. More specifically, I'm creating this video as a link for a local Craigslist ad that I'm going to put online to try and sell some of these fig trees that we have locally. Couple of things I would say. I really enjoy having fresh figs, and potentially at some point in time when we get things set up, and I'll talk about setups in a second, but to be able to store them as well. We're whole food plant-based, so we use dates as a whole food sweetener for our smoothies, for cooking, whether it's brownies or puddings or whatever it may be. So when we want some sweetener, yes, we do have maple syrup, we do have honey, but the benefits of dates and figs are there's quite a bit of fiber. There's actually more fiber in figs, a significant amount of protein and calcium, magnesium, lots of nice nutrients in it, and it's a really good way of controlling what you're consuming, and all that fiber really helps with phytonutrients absorption in your digestive system. So enough about that stuff. I've talked at nauseum about those topics in the past. But what I want to talk about right now is, if you look online, you'll see that that the fig trees, both Chicago hardy and brown turkey figs, are noted for their cold hardiness. In other words, you'll see them being described as being hardy to zone 5. Now, we live in Oswego, New York, between Minetto and Fulton, New York, where we have very cloudy, overcast seasons, harsh winters, lots of snowfall, and the truth is, if you're buying a fig tree and you're just going to stick it out into your yard, it's probably you're going to be disappointed, because they take a little bit more care. In this climate, many people will plant them in pots and keep them in pots and then bring them in during the winter months and either put them into a garage or a basement and let them overwinter in a dormant state there, or they'll go ahead and provide them with 12 hours of artificial lighting during the winter months, and you continue to get fruit from the fig trees, and they continue to grow. I guess Timmy's going to visit with me now. So my experience has been that the trees actually die back if they're planted in the ground without a pot. They'll die back to ground level during the winter months, and then the roots will re-emerge and you'll get a new growth the following season. Now, there are ways of potentially growing the fig trees more successfully and not getting the dieback in a cold zone like we live in. One of the ways would be planting it up, or making sure that it's on the south side of a building, planting up tight to a building, and using either a fan or an espalier form of pruning and training, so that the tree is basically right up against the building so it absorbs the warmth during the winter months, and then also providing insulation around the tree when the leaves fall in the fall time, and packing dry leaves in either chicken wire or that sort of material, just making sure that the main branches or stems coming from the ground, the trunks and the main branches, don't completely freeze completely through during the winter months and crack the wood. Otherwise, it'll have to regrow from the ground again. I haven't done that yet. I plan on growing these in the greenhouse during the winter months and doing the espalier method. So in other words, growing it in such a way that I can control the new growth each season. So with fig trees, they get lots of fruit on their new wood each season. And so you want to have that. So by pruning if you control the growth of the tree as you desire, you can get new wood, like let's say having the main wood going horizontally and then having new wood come up vertically each season. Then you can get lots of fruit from it. These trees do very well in poor soil. They don't need a lot of compost. If they're planted in the ground, they need less water. The property that we live on, we get lots of wind here, and with the large leaves of the fig trees, transpiration is pretty significant. The loss of water through the leaf surface is pretty significant. So on windy days and hot sunny days, they're going to need more watering if they're potted, if they're left in a pot. If you want more productivity out of a potted plant during the season and have time for the fruit to ripen in our cold climate, probably either digging a hole in the ground to fit the pot in, letting the roots work their way out through the holes in the base of the pot so it gets as much moisture as it needs from below the pot level, just having the brim of the pot just a couple inches above the surface of the soil. Then you'll probably get more ripened fruit at the end of the season. So that's another technique. And then after the leaves start to fall, digging the pot up, cutting off the roots that have gone through the holes in the pots, and then bring it inside, either putting it in a dormant state or providing it with 12 hours of light during the winter months so it continues to grow and give you fruit as well. So they aren't as hardy if you're thinking about apples or plums or cherries or as many other trees are in our cold climate. You just can't set them and forget them outside. You need to provide them with some additional steps, especially during the fall months, getting ready for winter months. So they're really beautiful trees. I love them. They produce lots of fruit. They're easy to grow. If they're in the ground, they require very little watering. They don't require very much nutrients at all. Actually, they could be planted in very poor soil, but the soil needs to be well draining. So if you have clay soil, you want to make sure that maybe that you want drainage below the pot level as well, so that they don't get waterlogged. In high windy areas or being above the ground, they're going to require more water. Is there anything that I forgot to mention? So the trees that we have here, I'll take my little GoPro camera around and give you an idea of some of the trees that we have. I've kept them in the coop during the winter months, and we've posted video about garden updates and what's going on with seedlings and all. So these were all kept dormant in our chicken coop inside. And I have LED lighting that I started in the springtime to mimic daylight here. And unfortunately, all of the plants that you see were all jam-packed into the coop. So they all fought for the light, and so they got lots of vegetative growth, so they really shot out their limbs, and they didn't get enough sunlight as they should. Figs really require lots of direct sunlight. However, if you're growing them inside like I have with LED lighting and they're competing with one another because they're densely packed, then you have to harden them off gradually, just like you would seedlings as well. So right now I have them under a honey locust tree, which provides some dappled light, and they can gradually be brought out into the full sun here over a couple-week period. And some of the smaller plants I just repotted as well. So if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them below. What I'll do now is I'll go ahead and put my helmet cam on. We'll take a look at the rest of the fig trees. Okay, we're out here with the fig trees that were started last fall, and you could see they're already leafed out a fair amount, and you can see the size of the leaves. Yesterday I ended up going through and just potting up some of these small trees. I can't tell you which ones are Chicago hardy or brown turkey fig trees, but they're both about similar hardiness, disease resistance, cold tolerance, heat tolerance, or drought tolerance as well if they're in the ground. And you can see I've got them on some bamboo stakes here because they reach so much for the LED lighting. A lot of them didn't get as much light and therefore are bent over right now. With a little support and being out here in the sunlight for a few days, they'll all turn around and start reaching for the sky and start hardening up some of that green soft wood that you see there. So these plants here in these smaller pots range from $15 to $25. So that's what will be on Craigslist to give you an idea of those. Then we get to some of the larger figs over here, and they range up $30, $35, $40, and even higher as well. We have some citrus in here. Those aren't for sale. There are many other potted plants that we've got around here. These figs aren't ready yet. These are still too young, these ones here, but we have gooseberries, hosta berries, thornless blackberries, red currants, pink currants, black currants. Those are the plants that I can think of right now. And as you can see, some of these really could be even higher staking to support them, but I just don't have support stakes that are tall enough. And depending on how you want to train these, and training is really important, having the lateral branches so that you can get some good vertical growth off of the other branches. So oh, here we got a fig developing right here. So like this big one here would be like $100 fig tree, and it will produce a lot of fruit. But that's about as large a pot as you need, and if you're putting them in a lot of compost, you're going to get lots of vegetative growth and not as much fruit growth. So learning the techniques of how to care for them is pretty important. These plants here, for being able to transport them, I've used some of the cable ties to hold some of these limbs together because this one sprawls out so much, which would be ideal for vertical new fruit, new shoots shooting up from this tree and getting lots of fresh fruit from it. So all this new green growth and some of the older wood will also produce fruit as well. Well, that's a brief look at some of the fig trees that we have available for sale. What I'll do is in the Craigslist ad, our phone number will be there, so you can text message me or call me if you have questions or you want to see these. I would like you to wear a mask if at all possible, considering the pandemic that we're all dealing with at this point when you come. I'll be taking precautions as well to make sure that we're not posing any risk to you. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. And I hope you folks have a great day, and I hope you found this video of value. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye now.